Hold on. Don't hit start. Yeah. Oh, never mind. Actually, no. I could go grab it in a bit. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
No problem. But here we go. We're live, and this is another Unsourced Wall radio discussion. Again, it's been quite a time since the last one, but we only do these big releases, the ones that everyone's are talking about, and we have a really big one this week, Thunderbolts. Which is a movie that I've been really, excited for. And when I saw this get announced, like, it's kind of, I was never here nor there about it, And then as we got to seeing more trailers, more teasers, more TV spots, like this actually looks like it'll be really fun in a very specific kind of way. But I had a lot of fun with it. Just, being first off the bat, I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm joined, as many of you may know, with my illustrious co-host, Rollover Queen. We can give our first, just initial, quick, thoughts about it. What did you think about Thunderbolts, Ro?
Uh, this is one of my favorite MCU movies in a while. This felt very grounded, very straightforward. Um, Bunch of screw-ups getting together, and they have a very simple mission. But in that simple mission, there was a lot of fun. There was a lot of like character development, and at the end of it, I felt very satisfied. And also, we could get into this a little later, but I like how this came pretty fast after Brave New World, because this is the first time in a while where I feel like, I'm starting to feel like this is a universe again. Like things are kind of going back to back. Like I like the cohesion, but overall, this is for me a top, I'm not gonna say top five, but at least top 10 MCU movie for me.
I have to say, I agree. It's definitely a top 10 for me as well. It's actually right now my number 10, right after Black
Mm,
Widow, which is my number 9. Because I love Black Widow. I know it's got a lot of flack around these parts. But no, we had a discussion about Black Widow. I think if people who listen know that I've always been a big Black Widow booster. I think that's a goofball movie that MCU got right. It felt like very simple, very streamlined, very, very classic. I love this. Felt like to me like a Sonyverse movie done right, like
hmm
it's like Craven, where like it's very they took a storyline, they really sort of like etched it down to the bare essentials. They added in some things from the comics that aren't like too important, but they're nice to see flavorings, and it came out with a very kind of compact, efficient, entertaining film.
Yes.
And like and you mentioned like you feel like it came out great. It was great to come out right after Brave New World because you can see like the cinematic universe. I agree with that. Yes, it felt like it really does follow up from like the new introduction to the political landscape that Brave New World
hmm
did. It feels like, oh, it's great carrying on from that. You really can't see that, but I think that what makes Thunderbolts work for me is how sort of like say set apart from the MCU it is. Like it really
Yeah.
care more about itself internally. And when I'm watching this, like, yes, there's all this other stuff going on, and they'll mention it for like a line or two, but that doesn't really matter to it at all. Like it's like, and I made a post about this, but it would be so silly. I think it really is so silly. Um, that you have someone like the Sentry, and the Sentry is not unique. I mean,
Mhm.
especially in the MCU, he's not unique. It's like they have all these characters already that can fly, that are bulletproof, super strong. They even have like heat vision now, the Eternals and stuff.
Mhm.
These are not unique things, but I did like how the tone and like the sort of care about its own stakes Thunderbolts had, where
Yes.
it kind of like what, yeah, they mentioned Thor and all that stuff, but it's just sort of it really just takes itself as the most important thing in the moment, which is
Yeah.
the quality that a lot of these comic movies don't have anymore. Because like we can't be the most important thing. We have to leave this for that. We have to leave this for that. And we have to set up this. No, like Thunderbolts, like here's a guy who can fly, and even though like 90% of people can fly, when that starts happening, it's gonna be the most important thing you've ever fucking seen. We're
hmm
gonna have like those great shots, that slow motion, those pannings. It's like this is like he wants to impress you how important this is. to the story being told, and
Yeah,
that's why I love. That's why I loved.
and to kind of piggyback off of that, like Thunderbolts felt like it, the best way to describe it. It's like, we all read comic books, but I feel like this is a book that anybody could pick up. Yes, there's baggage from the previous shows, but even though there's baggage from previous shows, the way that they kind of just throw you in and just they give you enough to where you didn't have to watch other the shows. You don't really have to care about the universe. All you have to know is that the Avengers are not here. And they make it so easy where I feel like probably the issue for a couple of the other past TV shows and movies is like you felt like you had to do all this homework. Like, no, Thunderbolts, you just come in. And I'll be honest, some things I forgot about from what was it? Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I only watched Black Widow one time. And what else came from that? I feel like, yeah, those are like the only two main things. But like, yeah, I didn't feel like I had to do homework here. Like
No,
it was
it's
just a good, simple movie. Like, is also quick question.
mm,
Homegirl is Taskmaster, right? Like,
yeah.
okay, all right, good, okay. Because I know they called her Ghost or something, but I wasn't
No,
sure.
no, there's Ghost and then there's Taskmaster. There's two different characters.
Oh, okay, yeah, that.
Taskmaster one they had shot.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, no, but you make a great point because like I love Black Widow, and this is like 90% of sequel to Black Widows, but it's a good sequel. It's like this is like the Batman versus Superman to Black Widow Man of Steel, where
Mm,
like Black Widow, like that movie is compact. Okay, that everyone's like, oh, it came after Endgame, she was already dead. Who cares?
yeah,
That movie doesn't really care about that. Like 90% of this, to have like the end with for grave at the very end, but like no, Black Widow, like Black Widow is not really made, or at least not really presented with the baggage of her dying.
yes.
Like it just feels like this is a Black Widow story.
Hmm.
Okay, great. So like people are like, oh, but she already died. Like
So what?
ridiculous. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Do you know how many comics we've gotten that's taken place
Like in the future,
after or in the future after a big event has happened? It's part of the game.
exactly. Like you just take it as it is. This is the story that's being told. I bet people like had like an Iron Man like 5 that took place between 1 and 2 or something, or between 3 and Infinity War. People wouldn't complain.
Yeah, no, no
They'd be
way.
like, oh no, more Iron Man. Okay. Or so like I think that is kind of a double standard. But yeah, no, this is like we're gonna take all the stuff, all the character work we did in Black Widow, and carry it over. And then
Mhm.
yeah, we're gonna have a bunch of stuff jammed in from the MCU stuff, but you're still gonna see the bones of like the
Yes.
sequel there. And that's what I feel. I think that's how like we feel of Batman Superman. We're like you can see the Men of Steel in there, and it's great. And then like there's stuff here that hangs off that maybe isn't as clean as it should be, but they understand, and they have the freedom to really sort of like carry on and develop those plot arcs. I think this is probably like the best, most consistent 1 to 2 punch in terms of sequels the MCU has had.
I
You have
agree.
you have I mean, my thoughts. Winter Soldier. So you have First Avenger to Winter Soldier. Rah. You have
Mhm.
Iron Man 2, very shaky, very rocky. You have Thor to Thor 2. Even people who like Thor 1 don't like Thor 2. But
Mhm.
this, I feel like even if you didn't like Black Widow, I think you'll really love Thunderbolts because it really does focus in on the stuff that made Black Widow, in my opinion, work.
Yes.
The family relationships. It's very. It's just a great. I think this would be a great double feature. I think honestly, I know people that say about homework, but no, this is a literal sequel. I think that you can make excuses for actual sequels. Um, but my favorite, here's something I wanted to say,
Mhm.
and I mean this with all respect, and this is mostly just joking, but I think that was really a clever idea because the other things that tie into this, like Bucky and Falcon and Winter Soldier for U.S. Agent and
Mhm.
Ghost for Ant-Man the Wasp, um, they were so bad that you could sum them up in a sentence of dialogue like they do here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you really shouldn't see Ant-Man and the Wasp. Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
So,
because
yeah, Mikhail has this one comment though, and he can't join us right now. He's busy, so I'm glad he dropped by for his comment. And he
mhm,
got a point. I would, you know what? I think Batman Superman is one of my favorite comic movies of all time. Everyone knows that.
oh yeah,
But I think that in terms of the balance, Thunderbolts, integrates things a lot more clean. He mentions that
yeah,
White Widow wasn't overshadowed like Superman was in Batman vs
mhm,
Superman. He's got a point. He's got a point.
yeah, and
Are you were saying?
yeah. What I was saying is just like it. I agree definitely. Like a lot of the stuff that came beforehand was a little muddy waters. I didn't really enjoy it as much. But I can also see from a different perspective of maybe somebody who just kind of came into this blind. It was like, oh well, I see a scenario where maybe they might want to go back and watch. Just for the experience, and I think that's cool too because that's what I like about comic books in general. It's just like, it's impossible for us to follow everything. It's impossible. We've tried, and you're always gonna miss something. But like, it's kind of one of those things where just you jump into a book and you
That's
kind of
perfect. That's
you
perfect.
you see a little bit of an editor's note here. It was like, oh,
Yes,
okay, maybe I should go read this. I don't
exactly,
have to, but maybe I should. So
exactly,
if if you have a couple hours to kill, fuck it. Go watch Falcon Winter Soldier. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Go watch Blackwood. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. So that's what I like about this movie because in a sense, yes, it's homework, but it's kind of like it feels cool to do the homework now versus back then. I don't know if that makes sense.
you know what? It makes complete sense, and you're right because it does. It's so weird that we're at the end of the phase, and like we're like just now going to get like the big crossover of the end of this of this saga. And the saga's ending like in like 2 movies. That's ridiculous to me.
Yeah. Well.
Um, but like that, you're right. This is a perfect jumping on point because you're seeing like the beginning of something. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I feel like you don't really get that with the rest of the saga. Like Shang-Chi, that's just leftover like management for the Iron Man movies. Let's be honest. Like I think that there are parts of Shang-Chi that work. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but but in terms of like gaining interest, it's mostly just like cleaning up leftovers. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, we have to explain this, we have to explain that, and also here's some tie-in to show that, like, well, the Mandarin was always kind of around, circling around Iron Man's kind of whole thing. So even though they weren't like ever, they didn't ever fight, he was kind of like in the tangent of that. Like it's ridiculous. And everything else is just like is has that tone, like
Yeah.
we're just continuing. There's no that you have Endgame, that was a jumping off point. So like where do people jump back in? Because like, oh, but you can have Iron Man 4, you can have Spider-Man 7, you can have all this other stuff, prequel to Captain America 4, Captain America 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he just comes across like, well, what's new, you know?
Yeah.
And Thunderbolts is the perfect jumping off point because it is the new thing. Like you can jump into it, even though it's technically a sequel and a crossover, a couple other things. The tone carries it. It does again. It doesn't. That does not matter. It does not take too much time to get into it. And the actual kind of like the writing of the script, and the handling of those plots. It feels again, it feels like out of step with everything else. Like there's a kind of way it carries itself that you don't see a lot, and it's hard to put it into words. It's like when you're seeing it, it's like it just kind of like washes over you. Like these are the characters, and I think the big point is that they are characters. That this is one of the first scripts I've seen in a while in like a standard MC movie, not like one that's like gimmicky.
Mm-hmm.
That's meant to be like kind of like that, where like the characters are put first in like a very direct way.
Yeah.
You know, there's actual character arcs here.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing. Oh no, they're not just continuing a character arc, or they're not just completing a character arc that's from a different movie. There's actual character arcs here. Like they have issues that are resolved within the movie as a
Mm-hmm.
result of the story of the movie. You
Mm-hmm.
know, which I think is pretty shocking to see, and I'm really glad that like you see it's this. You can watch this. You can just watch this. You don't
Yeah.
have to you don't have to worry about like, well, why should I watch that or should I watch that as again? No, you can just watch it, and that's what makes it so great to me.
And I
You
and
know,
I what I like about it too is I know we're kind of jumping ahead when I say this, but I feel like people who maybe didn't watch the previous shows, but they jumped into this and they enjoyed it. I feel like they were very rewarded at the end. You came, I think a lot of people came into this movie like, okay, let's see where it goes. A lot of all these characters came from TV. Maybe the reception behind the TV shows or the movies weren't, they were lukewarm to bad. We're going to be honest here. But then when you watch all the way, you enjoy it, right? And then you get to the end, it was like, wait, wait, what? This is where we're going? I think that's a great progression for anybody that's watching it, maybe for like jumping into these characters for the first time, and also people who have been watching everything up to then. Because I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting this. I was not expecting the ending. Because for the longest time, we were made to believe, the new Avengers was going to be, Sam, maybe Shang-Chi, She-Hulk, and all that. But wait, you're telling me it's them? These screw-ups? I like that.
I like it too, and I guess really wish that they hadn't like kind of hammered it in during the marketing so much. But it does make sense, and it's that thing where it's like I think it's the same thing that happens with Loki. Where Loki, there's a sense that there are stakes, like actual definable stakes that are meant to be overcome. A lot of times where it just feels like right now, and a lot of these movies like Love and Thunder, No Way Home, to name two, where the stakes are just like the drama of the movie, the drama of these stories, of these shows. They're just there. It's because they have to, like, oh, they have to overcome something. They have to fight something, something simple like that. And it's like, well, the actual important thing is that you're seeing these characters interact and move ahead a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the interesting thing. The actual interesting is the story and the drama and like the emotional stakes and the character dynamics, all that stuff. That's the actual interesting thing. And Thunderbolts really kind of hits that on the head, and so I'm really glad. I think this was Loki, where he has an underdog in that show, in the Loki
Mm-hmm.
TV series. So that's a great story because you're following it, you're invested. I know people are excited, like, hey, look, we saw Gambit do this thing, and we saw Tobey Maguire say this. Like those are fun, but like, are you actually like emotionally invested, or are you just excited?
Do you want fluff, or do you want like
Want
something sustainable?
Yeah,
That's the big question.
substantial, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, substantial, something with actual sort of concrete foundation. And I think Thunderbolts is a really great concrete foundation, which is again makes it really ridiculous. This saga is over in 2 movies.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But let's get into a little bit more before we get into like where this might go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Thunderbolts, it begins with basically it begins like I think a really great sort of like Flash Rogues movie would go.
Mm-hmm.
It begins like really off the bat, like we're just seeing missions. Like everyone's doing something. You understand where people are off the bat. It's simple. It's very direct. It's focused, and you get understanding where like Yelena is at this point in her life, and just like it's I think maybe a little bit too unsubtle, but I think that when you're trying to get people caught up, and you have limited amount of time to do this. It's not a long movie, but there's a lot of characters. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
that it getting everything off the bat, like she's like mentioning, her dissatisfaction, her ennui, her melancholy. All that stuff is like really great, just getting you into the mood, really getting you into the tone, because then that segues into a lot of like, I think maybe kind of somber black comedy,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's a really great tone because like I feel it's humorous, but I think the way that it's humorous is actually really disaffecting. It's really disarming. Like you're really lulled into like a sense of like the security here of like just like, oh, these are the jokes, but they're not too overbearing, they're not
Mm-hmm.
too ridiculous. They're jokes that are very kind of sarcastic, cynical, sardonic, a little bit more darker, bleaker jokes, bleaker comedy. And I think that that's a really great beginning for this film. Like you understand where it's coming from. He said grounded, but like it's also, yeah, I would say cynical as well, but in a good way.
Yeah, I agree, and also I think the timing of all of this kind of like it hurts, but also helps at the same time because it's like I'll be honest, like I said, I only watched Black Widow one time, so then for me to like it took a minute for me to remember. Oh my gosh, dude, she lost a sister. Because when I first saw the first scene, and I saw the clip circulating, because I think they put out the first minute or so on like social media. I was like, damn, why? I'm not gonna lie, she over here jumping off a bridge with no context. I'm like, yo, what's up with homegirl? Like, what? And then I had to realize, oh, she lost her sister. And then you realize, oh my gosh, Black Widow was a thing. So like, I I do mention this because it's like, damn, I know the pandemic was a thing, but like I also have to say that's what kind of hurt this phase because it's like so much has happened that it almost takes you a second to realize like, yeah, there were some things that came beforehand. Because now I'm trying to remember, what if this came out maybe a year or two after Black Widow? How much more would this have hit? You see what I'm saying? So, but either way, to go back, I do like the intro. It takes you right in. It does disarm you, and then from then on, it just easily branches off into where we could bring in everybody else. Because again, you also forget all these other things happen, and then when everybody kind of just happens to rope in together, that's when you start to get the sauce, and it's like, oh, okay, I like it. So she was a good point person for the beginning and to branch things off. So I like that part a lot.
Yeah, I know she's a great focus point for this film because she's like the straight person. She's a straight man. You know, she's relatable. She's the most relatable character in the entire thing, and I think
Hmm.
that like the way it handles, like of course, like the ridiculousness and like the of the situation. Like of course she's like an assassin, but she's relatable. It feels kind of like, I don't want to say like obviously in totally different realms, but like like one like some of those like shows with like dark protagonists, like Barry or something,
Mm,
where like you understand like where she's what she's doing, where she's coming from, and like in the first minute that she's on screen, she like kills a couple of people, a couple of
yeah,
just scientists and security guards. Like that's like I feel like the way it handles that kind of thing is like more interesting than a lot of other films, like other comic book heroes trying to do like, so we're gonna take like an eye toward like these darker villains, making them the leads. They do it in a better way than most of those do. I mean, like those ones, like they really kind of what I'm talking about. They try to be like really over the top, really exaggerated, but like I think that draws away from like just how insane it actually can be.
yeah, and I like it too because it's like I'm a big fan of like ragtag heroes. Those are my favorite comic books. Excuse me, I don't want to say I think ragtag teams. I think
Hmm.
I want to use that word very. I don't want to use heroes because these guys, they're not really heroes.
No.
So the fact that like these guys have come in, they're not heroes, but like they do a good job of making me root for them.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because there's like because at this point, they are the complete opposite of the Avengers. They kill. They're not afraid to kill. They're not afraid to blow somebody's wig off. But they're also human at the same time. So I found myself surprised when I was like, oh, I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for her.
That's the thing,
What?
I feel like one, it's the really the power of like the character dynamic. So like I think a lot of these characters have great sort of chemistry with each other. But before I
Yeah.
get to that further, another comment by Mikhail is that we're talking about the jokes and the humor and the tone of this is that it's not full of meta ironic detachment jokes. They're like saying that this is ridiculous, and then, yeah, we know, kind of winking at the audience kind of jokes. And that's true.
Hmm.
That's true. That's all. I really dislike that because like it's not in it's not keeping with the story. It's like
Yeah.
it's outside the story. Those jokes are always outside of the story. They're like you're not when you hear those kind of jokes, it's not the character talking. It's like the studio or like the embarrassed side of the creative process talking, and
Yes.
like, but when Thunderbolts has a lot of jokes that are, well, this character would say that, and this character would react that way, or these characters would do these things in that way, and that's where the humor kind of blossoms from. It feels very natural, the writing and the way these characters react is very natural.
Yeah.
But again, brushing off a little more. I gotta say, this actually did make me like characters like Ghost a lot more than I thought. I think Ant-Man and the Wasp is like one of the worst MC movies ever made.
I
Uh,
forgot. I forgot about her. I'm so sorry.
I know.
I only watched it one time, but I forgot she was a thing.
It's really bad. It's really bad, and like she's like awful in it, and like that character, like they spend. And the thing is, they spend so much time on like setting up Ghost and Ant-Man the Wasp, and she's just not interesting. It's like the story is not interesting. Her role in the story is not interesting, and like 30% of that movie is just like flashbacks and discussion about who she is, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And so when she shows up here, they just get out of the way immediately, and I think it allows her like to really sort of just be more of a character that's cool,
Mm-hmm.
that has a personality, that has an attitude. And I feel like that speaks more about her, like as like an actual character than all like well, she had this backstory, she had that backstory, like Emma the Wasp did. So I feel like right now, even though like they don't go into these things as much or in as much detail, that's sometimes not as important as like making sure the audience understands like
Yes.
the what they're supposed to be reacting to, you know
Mm-hmm.
like that's when people say like we don't need to see Batman's parents get murdered, because when we see Batman, how Batman acts, we can't get that. Our brains fill in the gaps. We
Mm-hmm.
use our brains, our minds to get informed about them. They inform us, like the way that she like bounces off of U.S. Agent, how she butts heads with Bucky and with Red Guardian and with like she's more aloof. She's more cold. She's more calculating. She's like maybe a little bit more standoffish, maybe a little antisocial. People get like the wrong vibe from her. She's maybe a little monotone. But like those things are a lot more interesting than, well, like again, sorry, I really, really do hate Ant-Man and the Wasp, but like, oh, but here's like a 10-minute monologue about how she was like caught in an explosion when she was like 3 years old. Like, oh, who cares, man? This movie's boring as hell.
Yeah.
Um,
It's. Um. I also wonder. I kind of wonder how much of that probably was in the works, because again, it's just like I wonder if in the writing was like, should we, add a little bit more context to some of these characters. Some of their movies may have not been received as well. Blah blah blah. But then I like the fact that it kind of seems like they took a risk here.
yeah, no, I agree too. Um, which is nice because it does feel bold. It feels ambitious in a way.
Yeah.
But moving ahead, one thing I don't that okay, I've said a lot about how much I love this movie, but one thing I don't like, and I'm not sure if this will ever change. I'm not
Hmm.
sure if this will ever change ever, but this is continuing like Bucky's 20-year streak of things happening off screen. Okay, like okay,
Mm.
like when are we gonna see something with Bucky happen on screen? Okay, I don't think it's ever gonna happen. I don't think it's ever gonna happen again. Okay, because
You mean with the whole like political stuff,
yes,
or yeah,
when did that happen? When
yeah.
did
I'm
like
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it took me by sharp.
and then,
Even in Brave New World, I was just like, wait, what? Did I miss something?
uh, they didn't even mention. You think they would have set that up in like Falcon and Winter Soldier, but nope. Like Bucky is like the character they just plop in. They like we need a character to do something in on a movie or a TV show. They just drop him in. Okay, like he's like I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Wait,
He
time out. Let's backtrack a little bit here, because maybe your memory is better than mine. So
mm,
that's why I'm happy we're doing this.
mm,
Okay, the last time we left Bucky was in Falcon Winter Soldier. The
mm,
last thing I remember, again, correct me if I'm wrong,
mm.
is that I think he had just confessed to killing that dude's son or something. I think that was
Yeah,
like a big story.
yeah.
And then we there's a big chunk of time. I think the next time we see him is Brave New World,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a politician.
Mm-hmm.
And then now they're okay, yeah, yeah, we got to cut that out. Yeah, we got to cut that out
Yeah,
because
no,
that
it's just
progression makes no sense.
it doesn't like he's not a character. He's never been a character. I know a lot of people are saying, and it's one thing I really like, where they're going through everyone's like backstories, and there's like a couple of ones that we don't see. And I understand Ghost because like 90% of like Gavin the Wasp, we understand her and all that stuff. But like you were like, we would also didn't need to see Bucky's, flashbacks, trauma flashbacks, because we already seen everything already on his character arc on screen. Like, no, we didn't. I wouldn't have minded a Bucky flashback, a Bucky Void sequence. I would not have minded because at the very least we might have seen something on screen. Give me
Mm.
something, okay? Give me
Yeah,
one
because
little.
even they brushed it off. Like when the
Like,
conversation
I'm
came, was
healed
like,
now.
I was like, come on, really?
Like I'm sorry, but like my character arc has ended. I'm where you guys will be. Like no, yeah, sorry. Show don't tell. Okay, show
Do
don't tell.
do we think Bucky's placement could have been slotted out for somebody else?
I mean, you know what? Um, I would have a hard time finding out who. Like the reason why I mentioned this when it first got announced. Like people were like, "Well, why are they doing Thunderbolts as like a fake Suicide Squad thing? You know, why not the original premise where like you have the heroes who are actually villains in disguise, all that kind of stuff. You know."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my thought was at that time, and I mentioned this, the MCU does not have even though it's a big universe, right? There's like 36 movies and like 5 TV shows, it's a big universe, right? Um, the world building and the economics of how they handle, continuing or not continuing heroes and villains and all that kind of stuff, it's really a mess. Like there's
Yeah.
not it's not in, they don't have like an actual bedrock foundation that they can do something like that. One, because of the economics of like getting these actors back, but two, because most of these characters just disappear off the freaking face of the earth and aren't seen for like 20 years or 15 years, and then when they're like we could use them, guess what, the actor is like doing actual movies, so they don't need to come back, so they have to recast or never use them again, shit like that. So yeah, no, I've had a hard time thinking who, because Sebastian Stan, he's a great actor. He's a great actor.
Yes.
I just don't know what he would be doing if not this. No,
Okay, I see that. Because for me, I'll be honest, Bucky was the odd.
he's all
Bucky
men.
was he's the off man because the way the promos made it seem, you would have thought Bucky would have been in this movie like from the jump. And to be fair, he was, but it was like off and on, and we don't really see him until the end. So part of me was just like, I mean, did we really need Bucky? But I also understand that, you know, Bucky has a lot of fans. But considering like the progression that we got from Bucky, that's why I'm like, could we have done without? Because again, he comes in, the void, I'm healed. I'm like, well, buddy, what are you here for? Like, come on. Like his story is very flimsy. That's my big thing.
He's
It's
close
very
to being a
flimsy.
prop. He's very close to being a
Yeah,
prop. Yeah, I
and
think like I think like that and some of the outside stuff that does creep in are the weakest parts of the movie. Like you're like we're meant to bring what we know about Bucky into the movie. It's not really like delved into with any sort of detail, which again people are like, well, it's a 36 movie, you should really know. But like everyone else, I think you understand as the movie goes along. Bucky is like, well, that's Bucky. You know him, Bucky. That's him. Like
yeah,
that feels awkward.
yeah. I'm also because it's funny that we're having this conversation, right?
Hmm.
Because a couple days ago I had it was a talk with some friends, and we were talking about like how um with the at least with the Infinity Saga, I felt that with the ensemble movies, you didn't really have to do much homework. If you just wanted to watch Avengers 1, 2, 3, 4, you can do that. If you wanted to slot in the single movies in between, you could do that. But I think here is, especially with Bucky, he's a good case of like how you can't really do that in this phase. Like you need that extra homework because like I can only imagine not everybody watched all the stuff post Endgame, and I don't know. Imagine you watching I don't know, Captain America 2, Captain America 3. Maybe you watched a couple of the Avengers movies, and then you see Bucky on like a whole different team because you just so happen to watch Thunderbolts. You're just like, huh? Like even his demeanor, like, okay, what are you doing here? What did we get from this? Like, you see what I'm saying here? So it's that's why I call it flimsy. It just things don't really work here. The continuity is it's very jumbled. Like I don't like I felt like I got more from the characters that I didn't like Ghost,
Right. Yeah.
more than I got from the progression from Bucky. You know what I'm saying? That's why I always go back to.
I think a part of that is also that it takes Bucky until like the final act to get into with the other character, so he doesn't have a
Yeah.
lot more time. He doesn't have as much time to bounce off of them.
And
Like
what
it's
was his
really
mission again? It was just to get.
it was basically to kidnap them to make them testify in front of Congress.
That's fuck.
That's kind of
Damn, that's boring.
That
I'm
is boring.
sorry.
That is
That's
very boring. That's very boring. I agree. Everyone else is like doing like this sort of like, holy shit, we let Evil Superman escape from this high tech security, saw trap vault, and then he's like reading reading testimony transcripts. It's ridiculous. It's so goofy. But on one hand, I like that because like it does show some contrast and just like where like the story is being kind of like stitched a little bit. I do like seeing that that variance sometimes. But yeah, no, it feels like an afterthought.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. But moving ahead into it, right? Again, one thing I'm of two minds about, and again, I think this is because people might not have seen Black Widow, but they do kind of reset, Yelena's and Red Guardian's relationship a little bit again, which I don't mind because I can totally believe that it would happen because Red Guardian is a flake and obviously just a lame kind of guy, but like really feel kind of weird to see the same beat played over again, or like in Black Widow, Yelena and Red Guardian have like kind of a fractured relationship because she thinks that he didn't really, like her or consider her his real daughter, even though she considers him like her real father because the spies and deep cover stuff, and they have a big heart to heart. And in this one, the relationship is fractured because she doesn't think that he considers her like a real father, or, a real daughter, and all that kind of stuff. And they have a big heart to heart, and it's, and it's like we saw this again. But again, maybe it's because I watched Black Widow the day before, and people didn't see Black Widow. Maybe people didn't see Black Widow, and Black Widow isn't like regarded as one of the more popular installments of this series. And so they just redo it, and again, I could see it happening. It just felt kind of like retread, but it's a good retread because it does come into the themes of the movie a lot more. Family, father issues are a big theme in the movie with Sentry and everything. So it does matter a lot. So I like that, but it felt like I've been there, done that. But we do have a comment by Mikkel who says Wendell Pierce is great. I wanted to see him impeach Stepantain. What was the evidence he was teasing? I think they cut it. He's great. So this is good. We're gonna jump ahead to the final act a little bit, by the ending. Bucky's plot. You're right. I feel like the movie would have ended like 10 minutes too early. Okay, I feel like there was there's enough time for like a full denouement, like a full kind of like summary of what's going on. Because like, kind of when the movie ends, and before not even talking about post credit stuff, but like when the movie ends, it ends like that. Like that. Like come on, we could have had an extra couple minutes just to kind of calm everything down. Sum up everything, because you get Bucky's whole thing, especially with Wendell Pierce, who plays like his fellow congressman who's on the impeachment hearing, trial and counsel, for Julia Louise Dreyfus's character, Victoria Veronica Fontaine.
Yeah.
All right. Not Orman Osborn. Okay. Like, who anyone else getting like?
Yes.
Like there's her company Ox Corp. What? Did I hear that right? Like, I mean, and it is like the Dark Avengers setup, isn't it? It literally is just a Dark Avengers setup, like
That's
down
all
to
it
it.
was.
It is.
We can call it what it is, bro. We can call it
This
what
is.
it is.
Come on, man. She's clearly meant to be Norman Osborn, and they're just adapting Dark Avengers. It's ridiculous. Anyway, but no, yeah. So he's like throughout the entire movie, going like, "We got impeached, we got impeached, we got impeached," and then like they don't end up impeaching. And like, what happens next? 'Cause, like, Bucky was going to try to impeach her too, but now he's like agreeing to work with her for to be on the Avengers, and like, come on, like, give us an extra 5 minutes where we get like a scene or two to like detox, go
So
over this again.
what I think, actually, no. I don't have to say what I think. So I think the homie who plays Red Guardian, he said there was some stuff that was left on the cutting room floor, and you know what I think happened is that I think with Thunderbolts, I think they had found a sweet spot in terms of like the time of the movie. Because I'm gonna give this movie credit because I think that the length of it was it was just right. It was just right, but the just rightness made it so that some things kind of just got left. Maybe we'll pick it up somewhere else, or maybe we just want to address it. Period. I think that's what happened here. Because I was like, hey, well, there's a lot of talk about this evidence, but what are we gonna do with it?
And
So
like, like,
are we gonna pick it up in like the two Avengers movies? Well, that's a lot of ground to cover because we got Doomsday, we have Secret Wars, so
and they're really gonna take the time out to like go over politics.
hell no.
But like again, so did like Bucky betray like his constituents and his party members? Like, is like in Thunderbolts 2, if there's Thunderbolts 2, will he be primaried? Like, is he going to be like, is he going to lose re-election and he's still just going to be on the Avengers or the new Avengers or Dark Avengers, what have you? Like, it's just, I don't want to be one of those people who are like, well, this brings up a lot more questions. I think that's sometimes not a sane way to think about things, but it's such a big part of it, like just give us an extra scene or two, have the fallout of it a little bit more, because they're the new Avengers. The end. No, let's talk about it a little bit.
Like I think that's why I like it also, because it's just like, again, none of us expected it. It was like, wait, wait, what? And then you just end it. So in a way, that is giving us something to talk about. But then when you really look at the nooks and crannies, it's like, wait, hold up, but what about this other piece? So now my mind is going, okay, so we leave this piece alone, and does something happen in either Doomsday or Secret Wars? Because again, now they're the new Avengers, to the point where, okay, this is now where we have to revisit this impeachment process, because maybe it's on hold. Because again, she says, hey, this is what I've been working on for the last couple, whatever have you. So maybe when she presents the Avengers, okay, let's table it. And then maybe, because again, these guys aren't heroes. Maybe they do something. Maybe she has them do something.
You know what? I think would have salvaged it for me. It would have been something. It would have been easy to just really do as a quick pickup, like a week before the movie releases. Even they could have shot this like that. They could have shot it so quick. Would be, you see Wendell Pierce, his character, the congressman that Bucky hangs out with, watching CNN or something. Okay, in his house, he's seeing the press conference, and he gets like so mad. He starts tearing up his documents. He's he's getting on the phone. He's like trying to call someone frantically, and it cuts back to the actual press conference. That's like in the real so just show so that way, like, okay, that's the punchline to his character. But right now, it's like just hanging out there, and it's like we mentioned with Bucky, it's a little sloppy.
Yeah, it's very.
It's a little sloppy. All right.
Yep.
But moving ahead, so Rihanna is not feeling great in her relationship with her father, and it goes really badly because she's going there obviously for some emotional support, and he just is very, very much doing a nepo dad kind of thing. We're like, hey, put it in for me, for the government, so I can get some government contract military work. And it's like, and I feel like that is just so genuinely and authentically sleazeball-y. I felt like just really bad watching
Mhm.
it. Like David Harbour, he's a great actor. He may not have the greatest roles ever, but he's a good actor. And so I think he plays it off as so much so grimy. Like it's so
Mhm.
like this guy's like just he's like he's a bad guy. I think he's not like a villain or anything. But he's like this guy is a bad guy. He's like someone who's clearly hurting, right? And he's like, well, can you give me a job? Like that's it's grimy. Like come on,
And it adds to the feel of the team too, and
yeah,
the feel of the movie.
skeezy, yeah.
Yeah, because and we can kind of get into this later, but what I like about the movie a lot is like lighting. The lighting of this movie, there's just something
Oh, it's
about it
so
that
good.
adds like that
Oh my god.
grit. I was like, oh, this is good.
Oh, that
This
first
really feels like the bad guy movie.
the first fight scene where like again where Yin is killing or not trying to knock out, but then eventually just resorting to killing the security guards.
Mm-hmm.
The overhead shot that's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Because also like it's foreshadowing the way when she like knocks them out and they fall and their shadow like elongates past down the hallway. That's like, it's clearly visual like foreshadowing to what the void does.
Mm-hmm.
So like they're basically like she's kind of like giving in at that point. She's like kind of giving in to like her worst impulses.
Yeah.
She's like throwing herself into a work that is just hurting people. That's just like it's more it's angry. It's angry work. It's violent work, and she is using it to make herself numb. So when she's
Mm-hmm.
knocking people out, and they like their shadows get thrown across like the floor in that great shot, overhead shot in the hallway,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's what the void is doing. It's just like shadow, shadow, shadow. It's like it's visual storytelling, and like I didn't know that they could do this. Sorry, I didn't know that they still had this in them.
We were unfamiliar with their game.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really great stuff, and I think that Florence Pugh, I think she's a great actress, but
Yeah.
a lot of things she's been in I don't really care about. Honestly, I'm gonna say it. Be honest about it. She's she's such a great vulnerability. Just great. Like that part where like you can feel how embarrassed and how raw it is for her to like, and when she kind of ditches Red Guardian after like realizing that she's not going to get any assistance or any kind of comfort there, she calls like just Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character DeFontaine, like I'm thinking about maybe being more open, doing things more community based, more heroic stuff, and like you can feel like just how much it is taken out of her to make that kind of call, to like
Mm-hmm.
ask for this kind of thing. So it's great. It's a really amazing performance, honestly. Um, but skipping ahead, we get to the vault, and I think the vault is like it's such a fun set piece. It's like this is the thing that makes me feel like this is 2000s again.
Oh man.
Like a third of the movie is set in this vault. Almost half, I would say, is
Mm-hmm.
centered around the vault. Okay, like that's the kind of thing that you would do back then. Okay, like well, we had the rights to these characters. Some of the comics, and we only have this much budget. And obviously, this movie has like a $100 million plus budget, $200 million plus budget. Who knows, right? But like, it's that kind of thing where like we're gonna take our time with a big set piece.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna take our time here. We're gonna run through it as much as we can here. Because and I think that always works a little bit better for me because that's the kind of thing that the Sony movies do, that well, basically all those old 2000 movies do. We're like we have a big set piece, and that's what we're really gonna lavish our attention on. I think the vault is that for the most part,
Yeah.
because it's a great location. Yeah, it's really fun getting there. It's really fun entering it, and like just the way they handle it just shows off all of their quirks. Okay,
Yeah.
but
And what I like about it too is like the amount of time that they spend getting there. That's what gets the groundwork going. That's how we start to get the relationships to be built. Because you spend enough time with somebody in close quarters, yeah, you start to get to know them a little better. So like I think that's the situation that helped gel the team together. So by the time they got outside, we're like the best of friends. But no, you could kind of see that they're a little bit more comfortable with each other. Some
Exactly.
jokes can fly. Like it's almost just like, damn, I really don't like you, but like I guess I don't mind being around you either. Like that's why I like it too. It gave
Yeah.
us what we needed to propel the film because I think without that, I don't feel the same way about the movie. Like I
It's
don't
it,
care about these characters as
oh,
much.
oh, exactly. Like that's what I mean. Like they take their time to like actually get as much as they can out of it. If they had like gone to the vault, they had met, they had gone out like in that kind of really short sequence, it wouldn't feel as earned.
Mm-hmm.
It would feel more rushed. It would feel like any kind of standard MC movie. Like we're meant to just see the scenes rather than invest, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of movies like this, especially big budget Hollywood comic movies, feel like a collection of scenes. Like, okay, this is meant to happen, and this is meant to happen, this is meant to happen. Just played in that order. But like the vault, I felt like I really could have spent more time in there, honestly, because
Yeah.
it does feel like a really great kind of sounding board for the characters. That they can, if you're gonna riff on it, there that whole bit where they're arguing about who is actually going to die,
Mm-hmm.
and Walk's like, no, you're gonna die, and I'm gonna get out here because clearly there's something that I can do to escape from this myself. And like it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
You
And
really do.
it's good because it's full circle. Like
Exactly.
everything branches from there. I think that's good storytelling.
It is.
This is
It
good,
is.
and we've missed that. We've definitely missed that.
But speaking of the vault, I was at the thought about the elephant in the room, Taskmaster. Um, okay, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. Okay, I'm not gonna say Taskmaster was like the greatest character or anyone's favorite character in the MCU. Very controversial character, but I have to say I'm shocked. People are like, "Oh, I can't believe they wasted Taskmaster like this," but I'm shocked that a lot more people aren't bringing us. Maybe this is the world we live in. 2025 is much different than 2020. Okay, much
Yeah.
different world, big different world out there. But I'm surprised most people aren't saying that they set up Taskmaster and Black Widow to be like this allegory for how misogyny, finds itself like, affects, the the free will, and the free agency of women over their bodies. Because like it's
Hmm.
like her father basically decides to, mind control her and wipe out her personality to make her a soulless killing machine. Because he feels like that he has the right to do that, And at the end of the movie, she's freed, and they're like, things will get better from here on, Taskmaster. And then people were so bored by her character that they decide the next thing that they should do is just kill her off after like 5 seconds. Um, and like, isn't that like way more misogynistic than anything else you could have done? 'Cause I'm not saying like, oh, no one can die, but like, if you're gonna do that much work into making this character like an allegory and like a thematic front piece for like that movie's message, that movie's feminism, feminist message, which I think could have worked a little bit more than it did. And it's just I'm not surprised most people aren't talking about how ridiculous that is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that she can't die, but it's like, come on.
I think at that point, and oh god, I hate that this is gonna escape my lips, but I'm gonna say it anyways. I I think the Black Widow movie kind of made Taskmaster disposable.
Definitely, I think it was. Well, one, it was definitely because the Black Widow movie did not perform and was not received like as well as they probably would have liked it to have been,
Yeah.
and also that Taskmaster was the most controversial part of an already divisive movie,
Yeah.
and so like, but again, it's like that's the thing. Again, that's one of those things where like it's the outside world of things influencing the storytelling, because honestly, the storytelling I think, and some people have brought this up already, were like Taskmaster and Sentry and Bob, they're like they got like a lot of fucking parallels going on, and you could have
Hmm.
seen like thematically you could have built on top of that.
Yeah.
I feel like seeing Taskmaster, maybe sort of react to the stuff that happened with Bob and him becoming Sentry and like how they took over his life and that kind of stuff. I want how they react to that, like I think like there was some fertile meat there,
Yeah.
to spring from. But again, it's like we need something shocking, and this thing wasn't made well. So it's again, it's the reality of things. They're not gonna pay more money, not gonna spend more budget for a character that most people don't care about anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the
Because
reality.
it costs money to even have her on screen.
Yeah, and she was green screen. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
when Taskmaster's helmet opens up, that's a CGI'd face
mhm.
inside there. That was a stunt person, and they CGI'd Olga Kurylenko's face into there for sure. It's the worst effect in the movie. Um, but yeah, no, it's a shame. It's a shame. I think
Yeah, I
that's
agreed.
I mean, even then, if they were going to kill her off, they could have kept her like for a little bit later. I think that she's really fun. I think the action is really fun. I think the
Yeah,
action here is really fun here.
and I think too, like I said, disposable, but I think not only Black Widow made it disposable, but I also think too it was just like maybe they felt that these characters, that the ones that we ended up with, they are worth the investment. There's enough substance there for them to go into. Yes, I know hit or miss with Ant-Man and the Wasp, hit or miss with like Captain America and the Winter Soldier and Black Widow, of course. But I think she was the one that was like, you know what? Yes, it might have been a hit or miss, but we can do without. Let's take the time to really invest in what we have left. And I hate to say it, but it was a necessary evil for what we got. It was a necessary evil. I'll say
Yeah,
that.
I
Yeah.
mean, again, like I really do, it's butterfly effect. I wouldn't want to like change a thing about this movie that might ruin a bit I loved later.
Hmm.
It's like one of the things, like it's like it's got that balance to it. Like if I could change Bucky, would that make for a better movie? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it could make for a worse movie, and should I risk that? I don't know.
Mm-mm.
I don't know. But yes, all right. So again, a lot of the banter, a lot of the humor in the vault sequence is really great. They're bouncing off each other. And stuff in the trailer I think was really fun. Now, other elephant in the room. We're gonna slip on all the landmines here, okay? I I I thought it was really audacious. I thought it was really, really, really ridiculous when Ghost was like, "Aren't you the guy that killed that innocent man on live TV?" And like, and I said it along with U.S. Agent. I said the same thing. He was saying it on screen. I was saying in my seat. Like, what do you mean by innocent? What do you mean by innocent? I'm sorry.
Was he a
People.
flag smasher?
He
If
was a
I'm not
flag smasher.
okay.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
like,
oh, okay,
like,
yeah.
and Ghost says, "Didn't you kill an innocent man?" Like, what do you mean by innocent? And it was, and U.S. Agent is also Walker is also like saying like, what do you? Depends on what you mean by innocent. Like, yeah, it really does depend on what you mean by innocent. And people always say like, well, he should have executed him like that, and stuff like that. But like, I'm willing to give it, because like the heat of the battle, okay, because like they were fighting. There was a fight scene like 5 seconds before that happened, okay, that he
Hmm.
wasn't part of. So like, it's not like the fight scene was like 2 scenes before, and he's been like just mercilessly like tracking this guy down after the
No,
fight has ended. No, it's part of the entire fight scene. Okay,
I
like
mean, and they were terrorists.
that's true. That's true too.
Yeah,
I'm like, could he have handled it better? Yeah, I guess so. But like, it was the heat of the moment. People were like, he murdered him in cold blood. No, it was like there was a giant fight scene like a minute ago. Okay, this was still a part of.
I
Okay.
think the thing was is that, if I'm not mistaken, at the time, well, even up until that point, it was established like this is the other Captain America that's running around,
Mhm.
or maybe the Captain America that was running around. I don't know. It's just, my memory is fuzzy. So for them to see a Captain America do such violence, maybe you can also make the argument that yeah, maybe it was an innocent person because maybe they started off as a regular average Joe, but maybe they got mind fucked into joining the Flag Smashers. So maybe then, but also at the same time too, I think maybe the wording could have been a little bit better. It was like, aren't you the Captain America that killed somebody? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been better.
Exactly. But like again, it's one of those things where like you're trying to catch people up to speed as well. You can't
Yeah.
go into the nuances of it. Um,
Yeah,
in
I would have just said that. Like, hey, aren't you the bogus Captain America that killed somebody? That's all you need to know.
yeah, because then it brings up like like he's known for the brutality. Because again,
Mm-hmm.
like all that other stuff, it just feels like Twitter discourse, honestly.
Yeah, no.
But again, Falcon Winter Soldier is not that interesting to really delve into
No, no,
in that
no.
way, anyway.
No. I mean, so, I, do we want to talk about our boy?
All right, which one is that? Uh,
Sentry, man.
Sentry. Let's talk about Sentry. Oh my god, I love Sentry in this. It's Sentry. Sentry felt like again. I love streamlining. I'm a big fan of streamlining. Okay, I'm like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's what comic movies used to be good at. Like they took all like the stuff from comics and like let's filter it in to what we can, And a Sentry is probably one of the best adapted characters I've seen in ages, and I feel like on one hand that's partly because he doesn't, in terms of like Sentry stories, he's got like maybe like 30 issues in total. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right, but also it felt like we got the bare essentials, we got all the necessary beats. Okay, like
Yes.
like 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 oh my god, it's like again people are like, well, part of Sentry is that he's like one of the characters that turns out to be always part of the Marvel universe. Like that's not really the important thing. That's the gimmick. The important thing is his, the contrast between his kind of his normal kind of self, like he's like a normal everyday guy who has this other side to him that ends up kind of playing into his, his manic depression, his bipolar disorder,
Give me,
his
give me 1 second. Oh,
no
just give
problem.
me 1 second. Here we go.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Keep going.
We're like, like those are the things that make the character what they are, and I hit all those beats, man, and I feel like, and not only that, but I feel that the the trade-off is also that they clearly wanted to invest in and impress onto the viewer, like the kind of silver agey tone to it,
Mm-hmm.
because that's their kind of compromise. Like we can't let's do like let's have him be from the start of the franchise of the whole thing, like that would be impractical overall, and I don't think it would make much sense,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But what would their compromise like, well, but then let's have him be like a homegrown thing where we can just make it seem like he's like a different kind of superhero, like when
Yes.
he when my favorite things I do, it's like a small shot, but my favorite things is when Elena is looking at the all like the when she finds like all the briefcases of full of the documentation, and she finds like the concept artwork and all this kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and she's flipping those papers, like I like that, like, it's so classic, like it's great of like showing like, well, this is weird, because
Mm-hmm.
you see like the beginning of the movie, she's killing off all these scientists and getting all these vials of like liquid and stuff, and it's like the guy scientist last words like, you don't understand, Project Sentry is like not what it thinks. She can't, she shoots him in the face, and then you get to like, that's, like you kind of impress like, this is something dark,
Yep.
this is something like serious, and then she gets to the vault and she finds like fake posters with the slogans like the golden guardian of good, like
Mm-hmm.
that's so strange. Like you put those together, like that's, I love the contrast of that. Like this is something dangerous, but like they're trying to make something silly out of it, something marketable out of it. I love that.
It. This has got to be one of the better progressions in one movie that I've seen in a long time, because by the time that Sentry came, I was in the suit and everything, I was a little worried because at that point we're an hour 20 into the movie, and the movie is only what, an hour 50, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, how are they gonna make this land? But then the way they do it, the time we spent with, Helena in the void, um, everything, like I said, everything just kind of came back full circle. So by the time he starts wilding out, they did so much of the legwork, and you could
Exactly.
see the progression. I was like, oh, this is good, and also this is scary.
It's scary. Yeah, I think it's the term of outside context problems. I love to use that term a lot.
Hmm.
It's basically a term that means like something that they have no frame of reference for. You know,
Hmm.
that they're completely unfamiliar with, and that's what I love about this movie is that, again, like I mentioned in the beginning, Sentry is a character. Sentry is like a hero or like someone super powerful. It's old hat. Like
Hmm.
they know all about that, right? But the movie frames it. The score, the way it's shot, the way the
Hmm.
characters and actors react to it, like it kind of feels like this is the first time there has been like a superhero in this universe, right? It
Hmm.
feels like almost like Doctor Manhattan-y, like this is the first time. This is the first
Yeah.
time, and like that's the thing. I don't care. I don't care that Thor is out there. I don't care that the Hulk is out there. I don't care that Namor is out there. When he starts levitating, and when he comes down the stairs in his um in his suit, or when he stops the bullets, or when he like bends the shield, or like the bullets bounce off his face, like, no, this is the first time. This is the first time. Okay, and the movie wants to impress on you, like even though, like, yeah, they've seen this before, they've never seen this before, and that's the difference. That's like the
Hmm.
play. Like, it cares about what the characters are thinking in the moment. Okay, and I love it.
And and that's another cool thing I wanted to mention too, because up until that point, we didn't see no big superhero shit. We didn't see none of that. Like the movie was very contained. Like of course, you did the flips and the kicks. We know we have the super serum and all that, but still, we didn't see anything too comic booky like the stuff that we're used to. And then the way that the way that we left it towards the end, it was just like, oh, because I think up until that point, correct me if I'm wrong, there hasn't been that many big battles since Endgame, right?
That's
Like
true.
everything has been very self-contained. I mean, we just left Daredevil where
The biggest was
it's
Brave New World. That's about it.
yeah, but even then that was very self-contained to just like the White House. So then up until then we haven't seen nothing city-based. I think the last major
The,
city-based stuff was
the internal
Infinity
location.
War.
Yes, yes, you're right.
So it's just like to see that again. It's like, oh shoot, wait, what? Because I could only imagine random person was like, oh yeah, they probably got used to not seeing that because the Avengers have been gone for so long. Then they see this guy in the yellow suit just causing shit. I was like, wait, what? Huh? So even as a viewer, it kind of takes you back as well.
Exactly. Again, it feels like the movie switches genres for the characters,
Hmm.
and that's great. I love that. I love that tone a lot. I love the switch up a lot. And again, it's something eerie. It feels
Yes.
very eerie. When I keep thinking, I think it's my favorite Sean movie, when she like finds the concept art, like all of, like, here's the different logos we can use, and like that in like an official document of like different logos and all the different like
Hmm.
it feels like like you have this universe. I think that's probably like one of the big things, where like actually having like a long standing Marvel universe, it works to its advantage,
Hmm.
because you see like all these things like in their element, like in their natural habitats, and then you see that kind of distilled into something that is being manufactured. It becomes really weird.
Hmm.
Like, this is like, that's the creepy part. It's becoming manufactured. And I like that a lot. I think that it is, again, one of the favorite parts of the movie, and it's one of those things where, you know they definitely tried their best to knock it all out at the park, because when it comes to Sentry and how he's used, it definitely has that tone of, this is like the one chance we have to do this, so we better not leave anything on the table.
Yes.
You know, so I love that. I love when, that's how it used to be. When someone made a Blade movie, that would probably be the only Blade movie they ever made. When someone made an X-Men movie, that could have been the only X-Men movie they ever
Hmm.
made. When someone made first Venom, I'm pretty sure they thought that was the only movie they're going to be there. That's probably the only Venom movie that was going to be made at that point. So you kind of have to make sure that you try to round in as much as you can, and they really did do a great job with that with Sentry. Um,
And
uh,
I like homie that they casted
Lewis
for him.
Pullman, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he did an amazing job. And but also because of how well he did and how well, like, the script treated it, like, I know there was some time constraints, or there was some scheduling issues because of like the strike. But man, I can't lie and say I would have loved to see how Stephen Yuen would have done.
I don't know. I
Part
mean,
I'm very curious, but like I said, that's not to take away from Homie's performance. But I'm kind of curious too to see, because they kind of have a similar build as well, but
yeah, but
maybe the way that they delivered it, that could have been,
yeah, that's the thing, right? Like when it comes to like Bob and Sentry in the comics, like when Bob is like all regular, he does come off as pretty kind of like kind of very schlubby kind of every guy, and even like Steven Yeun, like as like when he's like a regular kind of guy and his things, he never has that tone with him. Lewis Pullman, he feels like you can get him dowdy, you can get him dressed down, you know, he
Mm,
feels kind of schlubby, you know,
yeah,
and I feel like that makes him like I think he was a really great cast, honestly,
yeah,
and he
agreed.
he, he does an amazing job, and and I think it's great, like especially for that first half where he's just like kind of being bounced around by these other heroes, and it's like if you didn't know what was going to happen, it feels tense even then
Yeah,
because like what is going to happen with this one guy, and even if you didn't know about the Sentry stuff, when it becomes clear that he was like in like a case in the vault, and they don't, again, that's pretty much very much set up very clear to the audience. I'm like, that is odd, and they should probably leave this guy here. And so
hmm,
so again, it's a lot of tension. I think it does a really good job in building up the tension, building the scope, and as you mentioned, so that by the time it gets to the finale, there's you feel like you've already gotten most of that out of the way, so that you're
yeah,
going into it with your maximum kind of emotional investment in the story. You don't have to wait for like the final act or a final battle to like be a big blow up, because you're already there for what the characters have been through.
yeah, and also too, it kind of adds that scary element because, yo, the fact that there's somebody like that as an Avenger, that's scary, dude.
Mhm.
That's really fucking scary. The fact that you have Yelena, you have, Red Guardian, you have the Winter Soldier, and you have Ghost. I was like, and then now you have Sentry on top of that. This is a scary era. This is a
Yeah,
scary time.
and again, it kind of makes me wish this had been the beginning of the saga.
Oh, I would have liked that.
Like, and then we can get like like we get Thunderbolts. Then we get New Avengers subtitle something, and then New Avengers Doomsday, and maybe Avengers Secret War.
Oh, yeah, because I like that because you give this team more
You know,
time to build with the audience,
you know
especially
what?
if you keep the writing consistent.
Exactly, and then you get to that way you get like their stuff. You understand where they are.
Yep.
You understand what makes them different than the Avengers and why the Avengers kind of need to reform at the end. At this point, it just feels like, well, it kind of feels like they're just going to brush them out the window for the saga to end, and that's disappointing. But
Yeah.
also, they
Mm-hmm.
should they should call it New Avengers Doomsday. They should.
Ooh, because here's my thing now, right? I know we're kind of jumping ahead,
Mhm.
but now I'm very curious for Doomsday or Secret Wars, because when we left Brave New World, the understanding was that Sam was asked to reassemble the Avengers. So when we get to Doomsday, okay, what's going to happen here? Sam has his own team that's sanctioned by the government now, and then you have De La Fonte, who's running around saying, "Oh no, these are the new Avengers." So does Sam even have time to build a team, or is he just going to be presented with this team? Was like, yo, what the fuck? That makes me interested in what's happening that for Doomsday or Secret Wars. I'm not gonna lie, that
Yeah.
right there, that's cool.
Yes, and but my worry, my fear is that there's gonna be like it's gonna be like the beginning of Infinity War, where like we just see like Thor's like Asgardian ship just really destroyed. You know,
Oh,
that's my fear. Like, well, we got out of the way, and now we can do the crossover stuff. Like that's my fear, and I think that would be a disservice to this movie. So that's why
yes.
I'm also happy this movie is so self-contained. So I don't have to give a shit about what happens in Doomsday if it's crap. You
Fair,
know.
fair. Because I
um,
mean, we can. I think personally, regardless of how Doomsday or regardless of how Secret Wars turns out, in my heart of hearts, I think this movie's going to succeed, and I want a sequel. I
100%.
want to see what the aftermath is. I want to see how does the world receive the new Avengers. Like that's interesting to me. Now, am I excited for Doomsday? Am I excited for Secret Wars? Not that much, but now after seeing Thunderbolts, am I excited to see what the universe is gonna be as they have to deal with these new Avengers? Yes, you have me here.
Yeah, no, agreed. And thinking of like sequel ideas, I had the perfect one. Okay, I do
Mm-hmm.
have a perfect one idea for this. Okay, so clearly this is whole Doomsday, New Avengers, Sam Cap's own ideas for making a New Avengers team. That stuff, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
um it's clear it's in for failure, and then showing what that the New Avengers have to be like a real Avengers team, and then getting actual Avengers team reforming, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. So let's say all that happens, Thunderbolts 2, okay? Now it's clear that Thunderbolts kind of ends up with them being like not meant to be a very effective or competent team. So
Mm-hmm.
Thunderbolts 2, right? All that stuff is over with. Secret Wars is over with, and you begin with them like having failed. You don't have to mention it too explicitly. Just they failed at something, and so their team is kind of left fractured and in tatters. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
not like maybe they're close to being disbanded. And so that's just not to mention what it is. You just know that it is, and it's very clear from Thunderbolts 1 that that kind of thing would be likely. It would
Mm-hmm.
be likely to happen. Um, and then, like, you instead, after that's out of the way, what you do is that you have the government, or if, the Fontaine is still around, who knows? You have the
Mm-hmm.
government or something like that, because it's still a government sanctioned, team, government owned and operated team. You have now them like, well, your team is like in disarray and you need to get your shit together. Here's our plan. We're going to secretly get Baron Zemo on the team to lead it under a new identity, and so we're not going to just basically, fold in the comic premise. So like now they have to like, oh, we need they're
Mm.
like, well, we have this guy who's like clearly a super genius in our prison, and he's the only one that we can trust to lead some people who are as incompetent and as efficient as you. So you have them, the government, basically, basically Shanghai and indenture Baron Zemo into being the team leader of the Thunderbolts, but they give him a new identity because obviously it'd be a big PR like bonanza if they
Oh.
can't have him being out there. So that way you have like where the characters are now like even in a bigger position where they have to like contend with being a better team now, but also that, well, what's the difference now? Like that the conflict between them and being under new management, if I can understand.
I I like your idea,
Mhm.
and now I don't know if I would use the idea that I'm about to come up with as a potential sequel,
Mhm.
but what I would like to see is, well, here's my mindset. I don't think Sam. I think if whatever if it's a sequel or whatnot, I think it would be a cool premise for Sam to haphazardly get the Avengers back together. But obviously, it's not the same team. Maybe you might have Thor or who else. You might have one or two OGs, but it's going to be new for everybody else, right? And what if the Thunderbolts, even though they're screw ups, even though they may not be perfect, something happens where the new Avengers actually prove themselves to be the better team, and that's the story that Sam has to do. Because
See,
it's like,
that
that
that would be interesting. I just don't know if they I don't know if they're ambitious enough to do it. Honestly, I don't know if the Russos and all these ones are ambitious to do it, but I would love to see that. I really would.
Yeah, because the understanding here is just like I think everybody feels like, oh my gosh, well, the mindset is that this is going to be a big hoorah of all these old faces, old Avengers, new Avengers, X-Men, this, blah blah blah, that. And I think they understand is like, oh, the Avengers are going to reign supreme, right? The OG, or what we know as the Avengers, are going to reign supreme. But why does it have to be that way? Why? Like, did the Avengers fail in the comics too? Weren't they outlawed as well? Didn't we? This is Dark Reign, if we want to be honest here.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Dark Avengers, Dark Reign, it's all that. It's very clearly
yeah.
based on that. Yeah.
So yeah, like why not? Because again, like the Thunderbolts, by the time we get to Doomsday or whatever, the hope is that they would have been on a couple missions together.
Yeah.
They would have done some things to get the public on their side. But no, I can understand if it's like She-Hulk or Dare, whoever the fuck you're gonna get for this new Avengers team's like, you're not Cap. We don't know how to work together. There's all this multiverse shit going around. They're not gonna have it together either. So it would be a good clash of just. I think it would be a good It would be a good way for both of the teams to grow. But obviously, the Thunderbolts team, that's the one that ends up sticking around. And of course, something's gonna happen later down the line where they will have to piece out of here, and the Avengers, as we know, will be back on top. But let's play with this for a little bit. Let's have fun with this.
Yeah, no, I wish they do. I really, really hope that they do. I really do. Moving ahead, like we got Sentry and the stuff that happened at the beginning. It's so cool of him. And let's see here, what happens next? It's like at that point, it's like movie's like 60% over, but it doesn't feel that way. You're right. I think that they found out just perfect length for that kind of thing overall.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. They get captured by Bucky, and they let's see here. Let's see.
I mean, if we're being honest, like what I like about this movie also is just like the most of it is just them trying to get to De La Fonte just exposing her.
Exactly.
I mean, it's. I think that's why I like it so much. It's like there's not really too much to digest or like dissect it. It's a very simple premise. Most of the work is the character stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Like they basically have a goal in mind.
Yeah.
And the thing is like just getting past all the obstacles and hurdles in their way to their goal. It's very much like, and I think that thing that's part of the joke as well is that these are all characters that are very front-facing, very blunt characters. Mm-hmm. They're point and shoot. Okay, they made that joke in the movie. Like they're point and shoot characters. Like they have point A, point B. That's it. They're one-track minds. That's where like a lot of the heads are butting. A lot of the character and personalities are clashing. And I think there's even one where like Bucky gets in on it too. And when he finds out that actually the Sentry is a very big deal, and they need to like probably shut down immediately, and he like brings them all to the Avengers Tower, and Red Guardian's like, well, do you have a plan? And like plan, and he just turns out to be ramming through the door and killing a couple of security guards still. So that's great because again, it kind of shows up like they make that joke in like stuff like the Suicide Squad as well. We're like, it's just all characters that have similar, similar abilities, and they don't really bring too much difference to the team. But like in here as well, it's how does that show up in their personalities? With Yelena, she's closing herself off. With like U.S. Agent, he's just acting out very kind of brutishly. He's just like he doesn't have time for anyone else's problems other than his own. Or with Ghost, she's like a lone wolf kind of person. She just kind of she's very professional. She's very professional. And Red Guardian, again, he's just in it for for a purpose as well. Like he's just in it just because that's the only thing he's good at, and he's like very proud of that. He's proud that
Mhm.
he can follow through on things, on those orders. And I think that it kind of makes up for the variety and things, because it shows that that's why they're doing what they do. That's why
Yes.
they're that's why they're 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 in this profession that they are in. So I really enjoyed all that as well. Um, let's see here, but that first scene, that the first fight scene. But before that, I really also liked just how clinical the Fontaine is when handling the
Yes.
Sentry. Well, first when she finds out that that there might be a living test subject, she gets really excited, and then she's very clinical about how to handle it. She goes there and says to the army militants that she's military contractors there she's hired, like, to not kill him, and then she gets scared that she's killing. Then they basically just knock him out and put him into another case, and then they build like this entire set,
Hmm.
to have him wake up in. It's very cold, very sterile. It reminds me of like an evil version of Megamind,
Yeah.
Megamind, where he gets tries to fool the cameraman into thinking that he's like a special superhero. It feels like that, like more, it's more like a dark and cynical, and it's very kind of sociopathic, because she's like, oh, does this look like familial, friendly, comforting? She's like putting a sweater, a cardigan over her shoulders before going in to meet him when he wakes up. And like I love that stuff. Again, it feels like if it makes it really underlined how much of the Century is just a product, you know?
Yeah, and I think it made me just appreciate her as a character even more because beforehand I didn't really
Oh,
care.
yeah, she's rough as a character before.
Yeah, I didn't like it, but I think the way that she handled herself here, um, she's I get a better understanding, and she's very quick on her feet,
Exactly.
and almost in a way that's
Analytical.
analytical, and it's very scary because even the way because I know I like to bring up the end because even from Jump Street up until the end, she's always thinking on her feet. Like there was never a moment where she was just like, what am I gonna do? It's like, okay, no, get the Thunderbolts out of here. Okay, the Thunderbolts are not out of here. Okay, we need to do this next. Okay. Oh
Always
wow.
pivoting. Always pivoting.
Always pivoting up until
Yeah,
the very end. So like
it's great. It's really great. Like
because
go
I
ahead.
was gonna say because even like I said beforehand, I didn't care, but now this is another thread I want to play with because now if we take this even further, okay, how is she gonna screw things up for everybody else in the Marvel universe with how
Oh,
methodical that she is? I want to see that because
yes.
I personally love the Dark Reign era. I think the Dark Reign era is one of the best eras of Marvel because it was. Did we ever expect Norman Osborn to lead his own team during that time?
No.
No. Did we ever expect Norman Osborn to have his hand in everything that was happening in the Marvel universe the way he did? No. But the way that they carried it with her and with him, I see the parallels, and I hope this isn't something that's snatched away from us immediately. There's so much here.
So
I'm
much
here for
potential
her.
here. Yeah.
I'm here for her. I want to see it. I want to see it.
Same. I definitely see where you're coming from, and totally agree. Especially after watching like Black Widow again, it's so weird. Her first couple appearances, they feel so different because when she first was like in Black Widow, and I think in Falcon Winter Soldier, she has like purple highlights in her hair, and she feels
Hmm.
so over the top, so goofy, and not like in a good way, but like in like a cheap way,
Yeah.
And then like here, she comes across as like, again, I feel like it is very much the Norman Osborn kind of thing. Like she was a businesswoman, and she's like kind of Lex Luthor, bunch of stuff in like medical science, mad science, like human experimentation. It's like she's like sociopathic about it. She doesn't really care. She's like when she corners like her assistant, it's basically like telling her no, like, hey, I know that you're a mole, you know. And like it'd be very difficult to for you to say that you didn't know what you were getting into when you applied for it. So just nut up or shut up. Basically.
I, I think they were trying, and I think I could be wrong here, but I think they were trying to make her seem like, another version of Nick Fury, but they didn't have all the sauce yet.
No, no.
They didn't have it. But then I think over time, and
They figured
now we
out where they wanted to go with it. Yeah.
yeah, so now that's why I'm like rooting for, because I think for the most part they handled the Nick Fury stuff pretty good. He popped in at the end, he would pop in here and there, but like Nick when he was on the screen, you felt his presence. Her, I was just like, yo, can we pack it up? Like this you eating up screen time. Now give her screen time. I want to see it.
hmm Um,
So yeah.
and I also really liked where like it's so classic when he was like, why would I kill the Thunderbolts? Like they're so much weaker than me. And she's like, oh. And she immediately starts reaching for like the bomb switch. Like the moment he's like saying, "Why would I kill them? They're like nothing compared to me." Like, oh, okay, that's the kind of thing she really knows. She's not stupid,
Mm-hmm.
Like actually, when someone starts talking like that, just head for like the bomb, okay?
Yep.
Like that's so good. It's such a quick thing, but again, it shows that how much more aware of this kind of stuff than other comes up. I think that's when you have a character that's meant to like lead a superhero like in a superhero universe like this,
Mm-hmm.
they have to be aware of cliches.
Yes.
And I feel like it makes them it's cliches to us, but it should be like something that it makes them seem smart or at least capable,
Agreed.
competent. But other than that, I thought that the stuff with the void itself was really well done. I thought that when we saw the characters rescue the civilians, insanely well done.
Mm-hmm.
And that part, I was surprised after the time skip in the final credits, we didn't see like a statue or a mural of or something of them pushing up the rock, the fallen concrete wall. You know,
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I feel like that would probably be like their big, like iconic image. Like
Oh,
in Doomsday, or maybe like in like a Thunderbolts 2, if that ever happens, I would love to see like a mural or like
same.
or like a statue of them pushing up the concrete. Well, that feels like that would probably be like their kind of like their iconic kind of like PR image. Like
Like,
that's them. You know?
imagine like Sam just pops up and he sees that,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Wait, what?" Because I mean, to be fair, they already have Avengers Tower again.
Exactly. So like it's in the lobby or something. Um,
So I'm just saying, I'm just saying, Marvel, we're here.
Yeah, I know, I know. Um, but yeah, I love all that, and I, I, I gotta say, even though they had already set up that the void was not death, very bold and very great moment where Red Guardian saves the little girl, and then, and
Yes.
then she just blanks out. It was so shocking. I laughed at a shock. Like that was great. Again, this movie has it's really hard to like say to praise things like this because people always like, well, this what that's hard for a comic book movie. But yeah, I am. I'm saying it is hard for a comic book movie. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty awesome for a comic movie. I'm not gonna say like this is like, oh man, this is the most ridiculously dark thing ever. But like, no, I'm grading on the scale. It's okay to grade on the scale.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's nothing
Um,
wrong with that.
and so like when that girl gets shadowed out by the void, like that was great. It's so stark. It's so like in your face. It's so sudden and shocking. I loved it. And everything the void itself, I thought was really fun. And again, I wish we had seen more. I really do. I wish we had seen more with. I know they've shown this before. I wish we had seen more of Ghost. I wish we had seen more with Bucky's in their mind. Maybe even Red Guardian. I would love to see something with Red Guardian.
Yeah.
Like at least a little scene with Red Guardian. It's a shame that we didn't see those. At least Red Guardian, because again the theme of this is still about like issues with your family.
Yes.
Like they have that big moment where Lana and the Guardian again have another heart to heart. And it's great. It's really great stuff. So I would have loved to see like maybe his shadow, his void room, maybe about like again about his fears about being a father.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Something that like kind of ropes him back in to the theme a little bit stronger. Gives him a
Yeah.
little bit more of a stronger emotional conclusion, but
I
it's
think
fine.
for it, I'm of two minds of that, right?
Mm,
Because I think it's very refreshing with this and Brave New World that they didn't go past a certain um, minute count. I think that's what's really strong here. And what I hope, since we didn't get the stuff with the void, because I agree with you. I think that would have been cool to see. I do think that like the thread with Yelena, hopefully whether it's Thunderbolts or whatever movie is after, we get to see him grow as a character. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I would.
So
I would hate to see this like repeat again.
yes. So we've been here. Obviously Elena was her. He was going through his own thing, but like let's see progression. So I'm 100% there with you, but I'm also worried about like time as well because I think Marvel's starting to get into the habit of, okay, you know what, maybe this don't got to be 2 hours. There's some change.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Or if it is, let's actually put the work in for the characters,
yes.
not just have scene after scene of action or comedy. You
Hmm.
know, like it's it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It becomes numbing. You get bored by it. Like I wasn't bored at all by Thunderbolts. So I wanted
No.
more. I wanted more. And that's crazy. That's crazy for me, who hates fan favorites like Winter Soldier. I wanted more of this. I had so much fun with it.
Like
Um,
this was the most like this and Brave New World. These are the two movies I've been the most invested in a very long time. Very, very long time. Oh, Elvis, give me 1 second. I'm just
no
gonna
problem.
go pop out, grab what I need to grab, and I'll come right back.
No problem.
All right. All right. Yeah. So 100% agree. This was the very easy to watch,
Yeah,
and it was
no,
very engaging.
very engaging. Um, so, well, I don't know. I feel like we've covered most of the bases. I know I'm trying to think of anything else about this, that that
Bring back simple movies, man.
bring back bring
Keep
back
this
simple
simple
movies.
shit going.
Yeah, I
Keep
mean,
it going.
I mean, cinematic universes, they're old hat. I think people just want a movie to feel like its own story that you can connect with, that you can
Hmm.
get in that movie. When people talk about homework, really what they're talking about is that these things don't feel, at the end that you watched something that, gave you a story.
Yep.
Falcon Winter Soldier, it's a story, but it's really just a prequel to Captain America: Brave New World. Like it's just like,
Hmm.
we gotta get this out of the way. We gotta get him. We gotta make it Captain America somehow. That's kind of the brunt of that show, and that's what makes it feel less satisfying, less engaging, is because it's not really trying to be a Falcon show. It's not really trying to be a Falcon Winter Soldier show. It's really just busy work. To like
Yes.
we need to get him in the Captain America suit somehow. You know, and like we didn't really need to see it. You could have just gone from Endgame to like Brave New World, and we don't need to see that show. So that's what makes that show feel boring. You know,
Yeah.
you want to see like things, in their own time, take their own pace, understand what they want to do. And Thunderbolts is one of the few in like recent history that I felt really, really hits that nail on the head. And so I, I really, really enjoyed it. Um, and I hopefully we see Bob in the Century again. I don't know if we will, because I feel like that's I'm two minds about, like, would that I feel the same way out when the Century was started being used in the Marvel comics again, because yet the Century miniseries,
Mm.
original one, it is very much a self-contained story, and then when you try to bring it back into the main kind of Marvel universe, it really does weaken that original story, because the original story does have a point to it, does have themes to it that need to be addressed, or that were addressed in that story. And then when you get him back in for like Dark Avengers or for regular kind of stuff, it's like, I don't know, like, what does this add?
Yeah.
So I hope to see Bob and Century again, but I'm not sure if they would. How would they do that? My idea, okay, would be for a Century movie that is just a rom com where he like kind of meets a girl and gets married.
Oh.
That's
I
it.
mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind that being like a little Disney Plus movie or something.
Like it's just like him adventures with Bob. That's it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would be my Century movie. That's my Century movie pitch. But anyway, I my only main concern, other than all that, is that I wish there was an extra beat. Like when they get back from the void, when they save Bob, which I thought was really, really well handled. I love that a lot. I thought that it was really kind of impactful. He- they just they get out, they escape from the void, and then 2 minutes later they're in a press conference, and that's it, the end.
Yeah.
I wish there was an extra beat there. I really do wish. That's my only complaint. It felt really rushed at the end, but I have to say, it's probably the best third act that the
Yeah.
MCU has had since I don't even know when. You know what? I'm gonna look up Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Okay, I'm gonna try to roll back to the better third acts that we've had. Okay, I'm gonna
Mhm.
see how far I can take before I find one that's as good. All right, so um, let's see here. Thunderbolts, Brave New World, no. Wolverine, no. The Marvels, I like the Marvels. I do. I like the
Marvel's,
Marvels a
from
lot.
what I remember, was good.
Marvels, I remember was good. It just felt really mashed up.
Yeah.
So, and I don't remember where the third act was. Oh wait, no, it was Monica sacrificing her life. Um, eh, eh, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I didn't like that much. Did I like the final act? I guess so. It
I
was okay.
forgot what happened. It's been so long. This was a year
Basically,
ago, right?
Rocky Raccoon. Yeah, 2 years
Oh
ago.
yeah. Okay.
That was fine. I don't know. A lot of people don't mind the Gamora thing. I do. I think that ruins the movie a lot.
Oh, when she's
That she was replaced by like a time clone.
yeah. Oh,
I don't like that. I think that ruins the
yeah.
movie a lot. So I'm gonna give that knockout points for that. Quantum Mania. Eh,
I don't remember.
me neither. It's
He fought.
boring as
He fought Kang.
Kong.
Yeah.
Kang,
So
yeah. Yeah. Wakanda Forever. You know what? I do like that one a lot. Um,
I yeah. No. I like that one a lot. I
I
could
like
be
that one.
biased, but I
Yeah,
liked it.
Shuri Namor, her going to the ancestral realm and meeting Killmonger, all
That was
fantastic stuff.
cool.
fantastic stuff. You know what? I'm gonna give Black Panther to Thunderbolts. So that good third acts, good
Yeah,
third
good.
acts. So they understand what they're trying to do. Again, with Wakanda Forever, they understand that this is the emotional journey we want these characters on, and
Hmm.
this is how we're going to pay that off. We're not going to pay it off by having a big giant fight. We're not going to pay it off by them having to stop a big giant space laser, shooting up into the sky. We're not going to
Hmm.
have them by just by not even addressing it, by having something else happen that's unexpected. No, we're actually just going to take the time to pay off the emotional arc, and more of these need to do that. I mean, goddamn,
Absolutely.
the last Venom, the Last Dance did that. It's it's insane. It should be more common, but it's not.
You know
Anyway.
what? I'm gonna say this. Before we close,
Hmm.
I I know I wasn't the biggest fan of a lot of the stuff that came prior to Thunderbolts,
Hmm.
but because I like Thunderbolts so much, I do have half a mind to possibly rewatch Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
Oh my God,
to
really?
possibly rewatch Black Widow,
Black
to
Widow is great. Black Widow is great. I,
I think I want to do it, man. Like, because for a while I was looking for an excuse or a reason to want to rewatch some of the stuff. Because I don't think all of it is bad, but I just didn't feel the need. But now, because of how great Thunderbolts was, maybe I could sit down and find some new appreciation for some of these. Will I? Who knows? But
yeah.
I kind of want to go in with an open mind.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to see the Yelena series continue. Okay, because like the
Yeah.
Black Widow, where's the Zack Snyder Justice League for her?
Wait,
Okay,
didn't she pop up in what's his face's
who
show?
cares? Who cares? The
Okay,
show sucked.
I was about
Yeah,
to ask. Okay.
she does, but like I don't care. I'm sorry. Like I feel like her trying to kill Hawkeye is so contrived. I don't care. Like
Oh,
it's like
that's what happened. I
yeah,
forgot.
it's the post credit scene of Black Widow. De Fontaine is like, "Don't you want to kill Hawkeye? He's the reason your sister is dead." Like I don't care. That's so stupid. You know,
Oh
that's so stupid.
gosh.
Okay, but one last thing I want to talk about cinematic universes. Okay,
Hmm.
is the now watching this, I had this. It came to me right. This you mentioned it. You want to like, should I watch this because it leads into this? And so one thing about superhero universes now, especially the MCU, when I'm watching a movie that I like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or the first Avenger, and, it's one of those things where like you have to keep in like, if you don't want to rewatch them, I'm not going to rewatch those movies again. I'm not going to rewatch Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm not going to rewatch Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm not going to
Hmm.
do that shit. I'm going to watch Hawkeye again. No, but it's one of the things like I'm not going to watch them again, but they do feed into this. So on one hand, on one level, you're just enjoying the show, and the other level, you're like, or the movie, and you're like, this is the stuff I know that fills in the gaps. So it's always about like what you know. And it's a
Mm,
weird feeling, Like you don't want to rewatch them because you didn't enjoy them, but you have to understand that you know what happened in them.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's weird. A weird kind of double think. But anyway, I just wanted to sort of share my Marvel ranking. Okay,
Okay.
open a few new minds. You can see 9 and 10, Black Widow, and then Thunderbolts.
Hmm.
Okay. Now I did promise Mikael that I was going to explain why Black Widow went over Thunderbolts, and I'm going to say it. And, I think I've already mentioned it before. Black Widow, I think, other than the post-credit stuff, is a lot more self-contained. It is a lot less fluff there. Yes, like Thaddeus Ross appears for like 5 seconds, but other than that, it is a very kind of straightforward movie. It's funny, it's goofy, it's
Yes.
I think he has really great performances by Yelena, but from Yelena Red Guardian and well, what was her what's her name? Let's see here. Um,
Yeah, I wish I could help you. It's been a while, bro.
Rachel Weisz, yeah, Rachel
Mhm.
Weisz as their mother, um, and you know, um, so I feel like all that they're very neck and neck. Honestly, they're very neck and neck. I think I enjoy both movies like on the same level. It is really much as I mentioned, Man of Steel and Batman v Superman level. You know,
Yep.
uh,
Agreed.
and so I want a Zack Snyder Justice League. Give us one for Yelena. Okay, finish the Yelena trilogy. Come on.
Absolutely.
All right. Any last thoughts?
Nah, man. Keep Marvel. No. We didn't get to talk about this. We don't have to spend too long
Hmm?
saying this, but like, let's address the Marvel is back. Let's address it. Let's
All
talk
right.
about it.
Let's
Let's
talk.
talk.
All right. You know what? I never understood that to begin with. One, because whenever people actually like Marvel, it's for stuff that I do not like at all. People are like, well, when are they going to make something as good as Winter Soldier? Well, I thought Winter Soldier was crap. Okay. So when you say Marvel is back or that Marvel is not back, do you mean that? Because if something is not the Winter Soldier, it might be good to me, you know? So,
Hmm.
like, and then, so again, it's not, it has no purpose, it has no meaning, that kind of saying things that way, And so for me, like Thunderbolts mean Marvel's back? No, no, because Thunderbolts is better than most of Marvel. Even the stuff that you say is good, it's actually
Hmm.
bad. It's better than that. Okay, so does it mean it's back? No, this is just and Marvel overall has a really bad hit to miss ratio, and the stuff that hits, it hits, and you remember it, and it becomes like it colors your entire view of the franchise. Like, oh, that was so good, and so basically, Marvel is kind of kind of kept afloat, from
Hmm.
like the mediocre ones, and then like the ones that are like really really good.
Yes.
Mediocre, 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 good. Mediocre, 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 good. And like, it's good. It's fine enough. It's a franchise. All franchises are like that. But is Marvel back? No, because it's always going to have bad ones, boring ones, and really, really good ones like this. So,
I My thing with the Marvel is back thing is I don't think it's rooted in originality.
hmm,
I think what happens is that people who haven't seen the movie yet, they're basing that tagline on a review of a movie. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like I saw people who's like, "Oh, Thunderbolts hadn't even come out yet," but it's people who are talking about. It's like, "Oh my gosh, Marvel's back." I was like, "Well, that's subjective. So do you think Marvel is back because the timeline of the general public is hyping it up, or do you actually really like this movie and you probably didn't like what came before?" Because if you're telling me it's the latter, I will agree. But if you're telling me it's based off of, oh, the general public, everybody likes this, well, like you just said, there's a lot of stuff that the general public likes that I don't like. I 100% stand by my stance that Endgame is shit. Endgame is a horrible movie,
it really is.
but the general public likes Endgame.
So, like, is
So
it back based on that? Like, are you using that as a framework?
exactly,
Or
that's
like,
that.
is it back because it's a good movie, or is it back because everyone's hype?
Yes, because how many times of us have we seen this is the best movie since Endgame has dropped? How many
Yes,
times?
and like that's meaningless to me.
You mean
It's a
nothing.
meaningless distinction.
And the only other reason why I don't agree with the Marvel is back mindset, because yes, I get it. Phase 4 or whatever fucking phase number we're in, yes, I understand it's been jumbled. But I'm not gonna sit here and act like there's not some things I didn't enjoy about Phase 4. Like I liked the Guardians. I liked Wakanda Forever. I liked Captain Marvel. Like so for it would be a lie for me to say, oh my gosh, it was complete shit. No. And I think there's a lot of people also maybe they didn't like everything compared to the last season, but to hold everything up to Endgame or the Infinity Saga, which also wasn't perfect, is crazy. It's crazy. So that's why I don't buy the whole Marvel is back thing.
100%.
Yeah.
And if Doomsday and Secret Wars end up being rushed, slobby messes, then what was it all for?
Thank facts.
Like you're really gonna put your name out there and say, "Oh my God, finally things are course corrected," only to fall flat on your face? No, no,
No.
it's ridiculous.
No, no. But yeah, Elvis, oh man, this was good. I was looking forward to this, man. Thank you so much for having me, brother.
No problem. And thank you for joining me. And it's, I know if anything else, I'm glad this exists because I always, people always characterize me as like an MCU hater, but I'm always on the lookout for some of these that I truly truly do love. Okay,
Hmm.
so give me a third Yelena movie. Give me Black Panther 3. I still think that's gonna be great. Okay,
Yes.
All right, and yeah, that's about it. That's it. And then I'm done.
Give me Dark Ray, and I'm here for. I want to see Thunderbolts last for a little bit. Keep playing with this. Give me more.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. I don't care about anything else. Give me more.
Thunderbolts 2, Thunderbolts 3, finish the Thunderbolts trilogy. Okay.
Yes,
You can do
please.
it. Come on. Um, but yeah, fingers crossed. And so let's see here. They can find you at, let's see, at rolloverqueen _ on Twitter.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And you have your own channel as well, so they can find you. Let's see here. You have a bunch of stuff on your link tree, including
Yes,
the YouTube
yes.
channel. Oh, look at that. Some great stuff. Okay. Woo, a lot of recent stuff. These all look really, really fun. Ultimate Wolverine really is the weakest link.
Oh, yes, it is.
I didn't think that the throne would be taken from Black Panther, but it was. I'm sorry. Why? What's the point? So, well, thank you for joining me, and hopefully, see you again next time for
Oh, yeah.
Superman.
Yes, Superman, Superman,
Yes.
Superman.
or will the DCU be back? Who knows?
Ooh, oh, yeah. Let's bring the squad together for that one.
I'll
I
try to
don't
get
mind
everyone I
hosting.
can. Try to get everyone I can. All
All
right.
right, all
Great.
right,
See you soon, and thank you all for listening.
all right. See you guys. Peace.
Peace.